A while back, we took a look at the Amazon Basics backpack, and today we continue that trend with the Amazon Basics 4-person tent, a budget-friendly option from Amazon designed to help you get a start into the outdoor community. My name is Chris, and this is Gear Cache. Unlike the backpack, the Amazon Basics tent was not intended for backpacking purposes, but rather car camping or backyard camping. Weighing in at 8 pounds 5 ounces, this is quite a heavy tent, and even if you strip down to the bare necessities, you'll only save about 2 pounds in doing so, leaving you still with quite a bit of weight. The tent measures 9 feet wide and 6.5 feet deep, and does include an extra storage space at the back of the tent, which is about 1.5 feet deep at the middle and tapers down to the sides. The tent comes with its own carrying case, and inside you will find the tent fly, the tent stakes, and the tent poles to put the tent together. Setup of the tent is quite similar to most budget tents. First things first, you're going to want to find a suitable location to pitch your tent. Keep in mind sharp rocks or sticks, as these will potentially tear your tent. This tent does not include a footprint, so it's going to be placed directly onto the ground. Once you've found a location, spread the tent onto the ground, keeping in mind the location of the door. Next, go ahead and stake the corners of the tent into the ground, keeping in mind that the extra gear zone in the back of the tent also includes a stake slot as well. With the tent staked to the ground, next go ahead and locate the 2 sets of black poles and go ahead and extend these out to their fullest length. Start at one corner and feed one of the poles into the tent slots along the top of the tent. Do not hook these into the corners just yet. Next, take the second one and repeat with the opposite side of the tent. Next, at one corner of the tent, take the pin that is on the tent itself and slide it into the end of the black tent pole. Do this for the adjacent tent pole so that both poles have one end slid into these metal retaining pins. And lastly, go ahead and raise the tent by pushing the remainder poles up into the tent itself, raising the tent up off the ground and securing the ends of these 2 poles on the opposite pin corners. Once the tent is up, don't forget to tie the very top of the tent around the poles to make sure that the lantern hook is secure. And lastly, go ahead and install the gear loft into the top of the tent. Now if you'd like, you can keep the tent like this. However, for some extra weather protection, go ahead and install the rainfly as well. To do this, open the rainfly up and drape it across the top of the tent. Hook down each corner of the rainfly onto the rings that are located on each corner of the tent. And take the Velcro straps underneath the corners of the rainfly and wrap them around the tent poles themselves. Lastly, take the orange tent pole and slide it underneath the rainfly but above the black tent poles and secure it into the front and back of the rainfly. Now that the tent is set up, let's go ahead and take a tour of the inside of the tent. You will notice that the interior dimensions of the tent are a bit smaller than those listed, but overall, someone such as myself, who is 5'11", I still fit inside the tent quite comfortably regardless of which sleeping position I am in. At the center of the tent, the interior height is about 48 inches, and keep in mind that this is at the very dead center of the tent, so those sleeping on the outer edges of the tent are going to have much smaller headroom than those sleeping in the middle. The door of the tent does include a mesh window which you can open or close at your discretion, and do keep in mind that when you're opening and closing the door itself, you'll have to be careful around the orange weather stripping at the bottom half to make sure it does not get snagged in the zipper. There are 2 hanging bags, each with 2 individual pockets, as well as the gear loft up top. This means that even with 4 people, there is ample space to store things such as phones, headlamps, light flashlights, etc. Which brings me to the final feature of this tent, and that is the power cable pass-through. This allows you to hook an extension cable to a local power supply that some campsites include, and therefore run your electronics off of those inside the tent, say charging your phone, iPad, whatever. It is actually functional and quite well implemented, as there are 2 Velcro straps on either side of the opening to make sure that everything stays nice and closed around the cable so bugs don't get in. Once you are done camping, simply follow the assembly steps in reverse to disassemble the tent. So overall, for a budget option, this is certainly a decent tent. It holds its own weight against similar offerings from Coleman or Eureka, but as any budget item goes, go ahead and open it up and assemble the tent at home just to make sure everything is working as intended first. Well, that's it for this video, guys. If you liked it, hit that like button, get subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. If you'd like to support this channel further, consider joining my Patreon. Special shout out to Richard and Sarah for being my first 2 Patreons. And lastly, if you have any suggestions for future content, leave them in the comment section below. We'll see you next time.